And welcome. Wait, are we all here? 1, 2, 3. Okay, Marisa. Okay. So let's ground, take a couple deep breaths together. All excited talking about outdoor dining, but let's take it inward for a moment. And just feel your feet on the floor which rests on the earth. And inhale and draw up that just like solid, steady earth energy into your body. And exhale. And on your next inhale, draw down energy from the sky. Light, airy, inspiring, whatever air feels like to you, draw that energy into your body. And exhale. And inhale one more time, breathing in energy from the earth. One more time, breathing in energy from the sky. And just feel how it like swirls around in your body. Be with that feeling for a moment. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back to our space. All right. So, who's got something they want to share in terms of a celebration? Something awesome that's happened in the last week or so in your business. Yeah, Darshana.
Well, it's more like I live alone and I need to be witnessed. So like I worked out yesterday.
Awesome.
I am so sore. Like ridiculous sore. And then I fell on my outside steps and like scraped up my knee in like a way that like I have not had a cut like that in a really long time, like blood and messiness and stuff. And so I don't know what I'm celebrating, but I'm like, I need somebody to know that I have a boo-boo and that I worked out like really, really did. And I'm so sore. Which I'm laughing at because it's like, yeah, it's just indicative of like what this past year has been, that I like a 20-minute hit workout just fucking slayed me when I used to go 3 times a week for hour-long classes.
I finally did a workout yesterday for the first time in like a month. And it was just like a walk around the neighborhood, but I live in the hills, so walk around the neighborhood mostly looks like this. Um, and I was like beat. Like I was just like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted. This is totally ridiculous. I feel you on that, Darsh.
For real. I mean, I hiked like almost 30 miles over the weekend and was fine. I mean, tired at the end of each day, but then it's like a 20-minute hit workout and I'm down.
Totally
Like,
different muscles. And
I'm like, I didn't know I could ache in these places. But I'm celebrating the exercise.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry about your boo-boo too.
It hurts.
Yeah. I'm sure you
Thank
have
you
something
all
sad for it.
for being soft landing space for that.
Well, kiss Darshana's boo-boo virtually. I do a lot of boo-boo kissing. Oh, all right. Well, who else has something to celebrate or be witnessed in?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did a training for Bayview Counseling Center, teaching energy medicine skills to therapists. And I hadn't done the training I've done it several times in person, but it was an old colleague who reached out to me. And so that was really fun to be in that role again and to be like creative and teaching and yeah, just being in my leader and my teacher. And so that was fun. And I was like, oh, this is something I can keep doing yeah.
Love those reminders. It's like something you haven't done in a while. You're like, oh, this feels good. Right. This is me too. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else? Celebration before we dive in?
I got out yesterday. Was so beautiful here. Anyone who's in the Bay Area knows it was like in the high 70s, and I went for a hike, which I have been trying to do. Like I've had on my list to do at least 1 to 2 times a week and hadn't done the past couple of weeks. So I went for a hike yesterday. Um, so that was my kind of like, I'm trying to get back on. I think we kind of said some of these things in our goals thing on the Slack, but yeah, I'm trying to get back on my exercise and meditation habits.
Yay.
So
Awesome.
yeah.
I'll share a win, which is business related, and that is I had a session with Caitlin and Casey yesterday, and it just felt really good. Like we looked at a couple mood boards, and like neither of the mood boards were really it, but I feel like we got a ton out of that process. We meaning like I feel like they got some really good feedback on like what was missing and what parts I love and what I didn't. And so it felt like, oh yeah, we're like getting in to what is going to be the aesthetic then that can like play over all these things. And I started to feel excited about my website. Like instead of feeling like this huge, scary burden, embarrassment, I'm starting to have this feeling of like, oh, that's going to feel so good to have a really awesome looking website that I can like put out there and be like, hey, here's who I am. And just have this like way to sort of show people like what I'm about and how awesome I am. And I'm just so excited to have that. And there were some pieces that I realized I hadn't known that I needed to tell them too about like, you know, there's really this piece about structural alignment and stability and anatomy and like that piece that's so different from what most people think yoga is. And so, which I realize is really part of like the education piece and what I have to offer and what I am already offering. But like, it's so obvious to me because I've been in it for 20 years that like, I forget that other people like,
Right. And that can be reflected.
Not even really know what that's about. And so really like leading with this word stability, which for me has been my obsession because I'm so sort of like loose jointed, boundaryless, expansive, like stability has been my main focus. And I teach a lot of that because I think it's what a lot of students actually need, which again is also the opposite of what a lot of yoga like so many yoga teachers just sort of like are all about exploiting mobility and how much can you stretch, and it's about flexibility. And I come at it from a real different perspective, which actually helps increase functional range of motion, right? If the joints are stable and if the bones are organized, but it's real different from like, can you like push yourself into this shape and let's see how far you can go. And so anyway, it felt exciting. And we talked about like communication styles too. And anyway, it just felt really good. So that feels like a win.
That is a huge win. That's awesome. And I'll say something about, just because I think it's important to hear about websites. Like there's always this risk that we like kind of overdo it on website stuff and like take too long and make it too elaborate and think it's like the thing that's the most important in our business. And that's like the one extreme, and people can spend tons of money and like act super duper customized. I have made this mistake. And which is, yeah, I can talk about that another time. But there is something really powerful about having a space like an online home that feels really resonant to you, because I actually think, Avery, you're going to do better marketing, I think, once you have this thing that you're really proud of, that you feel really stable and solid about. You're going to be like, come check it out. So I think that as long, like we have to find the balance. Like there's sometimes good enough, clear, neat, feels pretty good. I'm not one for people going too crazy on making like websites like so perfect and elaborate, but I do like get the importance of feeling like excited about what you're presenting to the world. So you want to tell people about it.
Yeah, I think it's really going to help with the confidence, because like I know I'm awesome, but most people don't. So I think it's going to help with that connection.
Sweet.
And it feels like much more like the website is important, but it's really like this yeah, I guess just like the branding that's going to be like across all boards, like to have, like I've been I have this huge list of rough draft posts that I can't wait to turn into carousels once I have the template in Canva, and once I have, and just having, the newsletter, like having it all be sort of like this thing that goes together that then I don't have to reinvent each time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like, the website is a big piece, but it's this bigger thing of having that kind of aesthetic container that will do a lot of the communication for me. Is what I'm hoping it. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it'll be like less scrambling on your part because it'll be like, this is it. Totally. Awesome. Corva.
I also had a really great BWB experience yesterday, and then I ended up signing up to do like a chunk of work with them. They're going to help do some finishing on the website, speaking of websites, and then I just felt like I have to get out of here, and Franny was home for the day, so I had the car. So I took the car and went up to the foothills, and it was also really gorgeous. Like almost all the snow had melted. And I went on this one trail that I love. And I actually went further than I had gone before. I like rounded this corner so that I couldn't see the city anymore. And it felt really like good and symbolic. Like I rounded a corner and I went further than I had ever gone, So I also came home and was really sore because it's a little bit bouldery when you get up beyond the corner. So, yeah. So
Yeah. Spring is in the air. So awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've really been feeling that like spring is in the air and like, oh, I'm like energized to do stuff again. Like I feel like the winter has been a big slump for me and like I haven't moved forward with stuff in terms of the modules, and I haven't moved forward with like other things in my life projects like cleaning and organizing and stuff. And then I was like had a moment the other day and I was talking to a friend of mine who's a astrology person. It's like her passion. And she was like, well, everything's coming out of retrograde and like we're out of the shadow now. So you've got 2 months and it's going to be the 2 months of getting stuff done. And I was just like, wow, I'm totally feeling that bubbling up right now, that like I'm getting the energy to do stuff. And like I'm also coming out of like multiple months of working a lot of nights. And my next couple of clients are day shift clients. So that's feeling good to kind of like have a reset on my sleep and feel like that's going to give me like feed into this energy thing that's bubbling up.
Yeah. Awesome. Yay, what good stuff. All right. So what do you want support on in your business? You can always keep stretching. I appreciate that, Avery. It's all good. I wish I could stretch and coach you at the same time.
I can go.
Yeah. Go for it, Caroline.
I feel like it's been a while since we've checked in.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited. I have been doing this podcast. I mean, the podcast class has been taking like all my time. So I haven't been working on the modules either, which that feels hard to be like putting that over here right now. But I've had some creative ideas about next steps with that. But yeah.
Can I pause you for 1 sec?
Yeah.
We can talk about this more offline, but you don't really need to go through all the modules. Like you're clear on your target audience, you're clear on your message. Like you just need to design, you're kind of at the point where you need to put the program together, right? So I just want to like take a little bit of the pressure off. And then for everybody, I know it's like the modules, but you all know if you get stuck, like sometimes we can get through the work of a whole module in 15 minutes on a phone call, which is why you have private calls with me. So I just hear it a lot, like the modules, and I don't want that to be like this like thing that is like, you're a bad girl, you didn't do the modules.
Well, it's more like, I guess I have this idea of what I want to do for a group program, and I'm getting concerned about time. And even though it's COVID and who knows when we're going to be able to be in groups again. But yeah, I mean, as far as timing, like, because part of the group program I have in mind is like going on a river trip, and like, so that I would need to start marketing something like that at some point. So it's just like those things in my brain of like, when am I going to create a program? But I'm also like, I know it's going to happen. And the podcast, like, I feel really excited about it. And I think it's been such a fun creative project. It's really tedious and hard in certain ways that I wasn't expecting, but I'm like learning how to do this whole thing. That's fun. What was I going to ask though? Now I'm like, feel like I'm off track. Oh yeah. I'm just like, I think that that's one question is like timing, like launching the podcast and then like having a group program that I want to market. And like, am I doing that together? Am I doing one before the other? I mean, that's like two really big things that I'm
Right. Well, I mean, think of it this way. First of all, the podcast is a way bigger project than just like designing the program, right? Like designing the program is like deciding what you want it to look like, and then like writing it up. And I think it makes sense, if it's possible, to have that ready for when you launch the podcast. But my question to you is like, what's the timing around the podcast launch?
Well, I'm not sure like how the nature of the class, but I'm getting pretty close. I would say probably like in, I want to say like 3 weeks or a month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, I already have Darshana's interview, and then I'm interviewing you and Corbin next week. And I've already been learning, right now we've been learning all the editing and stuff. And then we start the interview process, and then they help us like really define like what we're doing and some of the questions and that kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So,
and Casey and Caitlin are also supporting me with the podcast with like artwork and different stuff.
Cool. So I would keep your energy there, because it's like, get that. It's like a big project. And when you're like, what you can do is, until you have like a place for them to go check it out online, you could either put a placeholder, or you can find some other way to share, like, really excited for things to open up. I'm going to be offering like this amazing group program for this kind of woman. We're going to have a river trip. Like, you can just like drop it and say, if you're interested in this, do this, go put your name here. So you can promote it, like just come up with the one or two sentences that describes what it's for and what it is, and you can promote that and get people like lined up for as a possible participant in that, before you like really start the enrollment for it, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you're recording podcasts, like, you want to have you want to share that, like, you have this platform, right? Like, you want to share that you're doing this. I think it's going to sound really exciting too, because it's going to center around an outdoor trip that probably can happen this summer, based on what I'm reading. Even if people still need to wear masks and stuff, like, it seems like more likely. So so you could do like a placeholder, and then design it real quick once you're kind of have the podcast off the ground. That would be one way to do it.
Okay. And then the last question is just my Facebook group, because that's also where I'm going to be like marketing some of these things. Like, should I change the name of my Facebook group from Nature to Nurtures to just my business name? Because I'm going to be putting my podcast in there, which has another name. That's like, I still feel scattered around like all my names.
Right. Well, let's think about this. It's like a big picture. It's a really good big picture strategy question about what you want to lead with, and what the purpose of your Facebook group is too. So and I don't know if they give you any guidance on this in the podcast program, but I definitely know that, we talked about how some podcasts just have their own Facebook group. So like, one option is to shift the Facebook group to be more centered around and called the same thing as the podcast, right? And so you're dropping episodes and little stories from that, and it can be interactive. It still could be like a lot of the same things you would do in any you know, in any group, right? It's just like more focalized around the podcast group. And then that's an easy ask too, when you're doing the call to action from your podcast. I listen to a lot of podcasts. So it's like, come over and join our Facebook group here. And then you've got those people, and then you can tell them about the new program and whatever. Right.
Right.
So it could be good. That's one option. Like what you have to do is think about like your overall strategy. And if you're looking at like, I'm looking at your business and I'm seeing, okay, you kind of have your main, you're going to have a group program, and then you're still going to, at least for the time being, you're still going to see people privately, right? But it's
Yeah.
all around the same. You now have like one clear target audience that you're going to be marketing for. It doesn't mean you won't ever have any other random clients for a while, but like you're going to be marketing to this one kind of person, which makes it all a lot easier. And it seems to me that like you're going to need basically 2 marketing strategies, maybe just one. Like the podcast is can probably get you pretty far, because different from guesting, you're the one that's like, you're the one that's putting it out every week or every other week or whatever you're doing. So that can be your main marketing strategy. And if you're bringing them into a Facebook group, that's like, if you think about the funnel, you've got your podcast as your main, and you're promoting that, right? So you're promoting the podcast, you're getting people to listen to it, you're getting people into a Facebook group, you're getting people into your group program, or maybe your one-on-one. And that could be the whole thing, right? So if you think about it that way, like really streamlined, like really that's basically it. And and then you can invite other people to join your Facebook group too, right? Like it doesn't just have to be people that listen to the podcast. But that it's like anybody who's interested in that topic, of course, too. But yeah, so that's like a real kind of a simplified way of thinking about it. Does that help or make sense?
Yeah, and that's why I'm thinking like to change. I guess I can change the name. I haven't even checked this, but like,
Yeah, you totally can.
To my business name, Root Awareness, and then my program's name is Nature for Nurturers. But like Root Awareness is like this umbrella that has like my podcast and my group program and my one-on-one sessions with clients.
Right, but then you're going to have Root Awareness. But then there's just a decision to be made, and maybe Casey and Caitlin could chime in. Maybe we should ask them next time too, because they're better at this, I think, than I am. But you have to decide whether you want the group to be oriented around the podcast and call, like, if you go a Voice of the Earth, like, is it the Voice of the Earth podcast Facebook group, or is it the Root Awareness? Like, Root Awareness as a Facebook group isn't that effective, because Facebook groups have to have a purpose, and Root Awareness is a thing that people aren't sure what it is necessarily. So just naming your Facebook group the name of your business isn't usually a good strategy. Like go look at it, like especially like business oriented Facebook groups. They're really like blank for blank, or do this, or they're very results oriented, or it kind of can get lost in the shuffle. So I don't know how the name of your business fits in. And that's, I think, would be a really good question for us to bring to the next call with Casey and Caitlin, is like, you have these 3 things. I wouldn't worry about the program name. Program names are always going to be a little different. Like, great. It's more like podcast name, business name. Where are you using each? What makes,
it's just so confusing for me. I'm like, there's like this part of me that just wants everything to be the same. I'm like, but maybe that's fine. People just know it's me, and they're like, okay, Caroline does the nature thing, and it's called this in different ways.
Well, maybe it's like Voice of the Earth with Caroline, and maybe like, look, we should look around. Like, I think there's some people that their podcast is the name of their business, and there's some people that it's not. Like, people do it different ways, and that's where I think it would be helpful to talk to Casey and Caitlin, because they've helped more people like brand in terms of someone who has a podcast and also like has a business. They'll just be better at helping you make that decision, I feel like. But it's important. You're right. And you don't want too many names, and you want your Facebook group to be like purpose oriented.
Yeah, I could say more, but I feel like I'm taking up a lot of time.
We'll say what you're thinking.
Well, it's just that, and I'm also confused about Instagram, because I have 2 different Instagram accounts, one that's Root Awareness, one that's Nature for Nurturers. And I would love for that to maybe be the same name as my Facebook group. And then, so people, because some people that I'll be interviewing, I feel like can tag me on Instagram,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So it would be nice if there was consistency there too.
I think the big question to bring to them should your social media accounts, your Facebook group and your IG account, should those be oriented around your podcast or around your business?
Okay.
And that's a bigger picture strategic question. I think they would be helpful in diving into that one, because I don't know for sure what would be the best in your situation.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
you can write it up and pop it in the group, or we can talk about it. Yeah, put it in the Slack group. Let's get their feedback sooner and try to like figure that out. You definitely just want one IG account. The question I have is like, is it better to have an account? It seems like you want to have a business account, like on IG, it's usually your name. It's gonna be like Caroline, and then the name of your business, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think I have Julie Wolf Business Guide to My Nature or something. And then you promote the podcast through your IG account. But then your Facebook group might actually be for the podcast. So that's where I want to like talk to them and figure it out a little more.
Okay.
So,
Can I chime in on this?
yeah, please.
I don't want to be out of line, but I love the idea of your Facebook group being like the podcast name. Cause I think people are going to like find you through the podcast a lot. And then to have it be really simple. I've been listening to this podcast. And I feel like this lady does an amazing, like she's a really astute business owner. Like she just does a good job with, so it's like Tracy Otsuka's. So she has her name in there. ADHD for Smartass Women is her podcast. But then she has a Facebook group with the same name. And she does a lot of back and forth. So like she'll do polls or ask questions in the Facebook group, like, what are your challenges or blah, blah, blah. And then she'll like talk about that and say, oh, like, this person, and she'll like say their name from the Facebook group came up with this amazing idea. And so like then those people get to be sort of seen or featured on the podcast. Like I'm not even on Facebook, but just listening to her podcast, I'm like, dang, I should go check out that group, because she really like keeps feeding back like, oh, and yeah, like she uses that in a really smart way. Like she has guests and talks about cool stuff on the podcast. But then a lot of times she'll reference things that happened in this Facebook group. And the fact that they have the same name, I feel like it would be so easy for me then to find the Facebook group. And I'm sure she markets her like coaching and her course and her stuff in there, but it's really like, here's this community hub support. And I could see you doing the same thing, because I have a feeling a lot of people are going to find you through the podcast and then they'll want to go check out your stuff. And so in terms of Instagram, like, maybe my 2 cents would be have like, some people are just going to want to follow the podcast. So you could have one page that's just podcast, but then the other would be like your personal brand, and like put you on there. Like, I feel like sometimes people have some cool thing, but when I go, there's like no pictures of them. It's all just like about their business. And I'm like, I don't really want to follow this. But if it has like you and your ideas and like, yeah, your name, it also drives me nuts when people don't put their name on there, because then I have to like memorize their Instagram handle and their name. And sometimes I only have one and then I can't find them. I'm like, oh, what's this person's like Instagram name? I know their name, but I don't know their little like. So anyway, those are my 2 cents. But I love the idea of you having it seems like the podcast and Facebook group could really be like synergistic and useful for like then having people come into your world. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Avery.
I think that all sounds good. The only thing I would say is that I wouldn't try to get the Facebook group going and Instagram at once. I would just start with the Facebook group and then work on Instagram later. Because unless you already have like a big following on Instagram and people are responsive, no, it's like, no, like focus in one, like podcast, Facebook group, sign them up for your program. That's it. And then Instagram, I always see is like, especially like a lot of people start Instagram later. I like follow like kind of like like big coaches, and I'm like, oh, they're on Instagram now. They have like 500 followers, like I do, you know. So it's like people just like they layer stuff on as time goes by, and like unless they have like a real passion for that, you know, for that platform or something. So I would choose one or the other. To me, it seems more effective to use a Facebook group to have conversation going around a podcast, because you have like a more intimate experience inside of a group versus on a page where it's like just more one way, you know, inherently. So
Okay.
so sit with that, but I want you to be simple about this.
Mhm.
Podcast, that's a lot of work. Facebook group, and then boom, get them into your programs.
And I just want to be one more little voice that, like, as someone who actually knows you like well, I've been confused by your multiple names and multiple accounts, and so I just am like reiterating what's been said. Like, I see a definite value in like choosing a name and having consistency, even if that name is like an umbrella that then different things fall under. I think that's going to be, you're going to get more leverage out of that from a branding standpoint, like when people know what to associate you with.
I know. I'm like trying to figure it out. It's but I just have a quick, like, nature for nurturers for a podcast. Like, people don't like that name. No.
I don't know what it means.
So
I
should
don't
I,
know what I'm gonna get.
should I, yeah, okay. So okay, thank you.
Yeah, Corba, and then let's move on to the next person. we can dig into more of this, Kate, Caroline.
Well, I actually have a thing about name for myself we could go to, but I just wanted to say a lot of podcasts I follow, they have interesting, quirky names, like the one that I want to say Yoga with Avery. Yoga with Avery said.
I always do that too.
And like there's herbalist I used to know like decades and decades ago in the Bay Area, and I don't know if she still has it, but she started a podcast way when podcasts first started, and she called it the Herbal Highway, and it's just kind of, you know, kind of wacky and interesting. It sticks with you, you know, and I like that you're interviewing people and that's voices. So I like Voice of the Earth. So anyway.
Okay, thank you, Corva.
Yeah. So I'm considering, I am going to change. I've decided, I've weighed out the pros and cons on a huge piece of paper, and I've decided I'm sticking with Instagram for now because I have people there and it's a good way for me to get this out. And so I'm just going to have boundaries around it in different ways, but I want to change the name, and I was going to do the same name as my website, which is Tree School NM. But then I'm like, what really makes my heart sing is just Tree School, but Tree School's taken, but Tree _ School isn't. So I'm just wondering, you know, and then I tried to change it this morning. I couldn't figure out how to do it. So I have to do that, but just kind of weighing that in, like what anybody, if anyone has any input about that, or Julie, what you think?
I think the underscore is fine, right? Right, Yoga with Avery? And you know, also you put your name on.
Too, but I like it because then it reads nice. It's not like all the letters crammed in. It would be like Tree School. I think it would be fine. And if someone looks up Tree School, all the tree schools will come up, like tree.school, tree _ school. Like they'll see you when they search.
And your name too, if they look up, you put Tree School Corva Rose or Corva Rose Tree School, like, because you have a name and then you have a business name, right? If you have the business account, which make sure you do.
I do.
And then if someone looks up Corva Rose, they're also going to find Tree School. So it searches both ways.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's totally fine.
Okay, then I'll do that whenever I figure out how to do it. But I'm also I just want to, I know I'm meeting with you later, Julie, so we can talk more about this, but I'm just really overwhelmed with all the pieces to get together for this launch, and I'm not trying to do it perfect. I just want to do it right. That's been kind of just what I've been saying to myself, you know, it's okay. I don't want to overthink it, but there's just a lot to get done, and a lot of tech for me to learn. And I'm not the one installing it. Casper's doing that because he's like my VA too, and web person. So it's great. I'm just overwhelmed.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. honor your overwhelm. And I'm curious, when you say launch, are you talking about just getting the website done and the copy and all that? Or are you launching the program? Like, I want to know what you're thinking about when you say the word launch. What are
Yeah.
all the things you're talking about?
Well, there's 3 modes. I guess there's 3 modes of communication that are all going to go out simultaneously. Like there's the postcard that's ready to go, but I don't want to send the postcard out till the website's done.
Right.
The website needs to be done with all the back end tech stuff. And then I'm going to send out over like a month and a half. I've got like a list going of colleagues that I'm just going to reach out to one-on-one and just say, hey, this is what I'm doing. But the thing that's launching is basically the mentorship. It's the program, but the website is the vehicle for it. And I already did make an announcement on Instagram that Divine Earth is closed. So like, it's just, like I'm not attached to it being like one huge cannonball in the water. Like it has to all happen at the same time. Like I'm starting to ripple it. But it is really announcing the mentorship program.
Okay.
So yeah. And the business, it's like there's the mentorship program and the business and the website, and it's exciting. There's like an alignment happening. And I know this is all part of it, this, just the pieces. And I made a Google Doc of all the things that need to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. But
yeah, I mean, maybe we can look at that together on our call, but my sense is that the overwhelm is a little bit more about like the birthing and the getting it out there than, because you have good support. Like Casper's got the website, you got to write stuff, but Casper's going to take care of the tech. You don't have to worry about that. The website's done.
Yeah.
It just needs some tweaks. You got them, you got BWB, your postcard's done. You're not planning some elaborate, like 20 email launch series with a webinar, like it's that. So absolutely, I'll help you walk through like just getting it dialed in. Like, here's what needs to be happening. Here's what you should do first. We can totally do that. But I'm curious if that feels like resonant, that some of it's just about like the whole, like, I'm doing this, I'm putting this out there.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. I think that's really it. And I also think there's just so much more tech for me to learn how to manage. So I think that's part of it too. But I mean, I know we're going to talk later. I just wanted to sort of be.
That's fine. You can have space on this call. Okay. And then the tech too, you can get support with that. Like right. You shouldn't all of a sudden have to handle a bunch of tech. Like that's what VAs are for. You don't need to learn how to do all that stuff. I think it's handy to learn how to use MailChimp in case you want to get something out quick and your VAs and can't turn it around in an hour. Like I sometimes like I gotta send out this email now. So, but like most of it, you don't really have to learn.
Oh, so do you have your VA do that? Do you just send it to them?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I haven't loaded an email onto MailChimp in years. It's like the first thing I had a VA start doing a million years ago. Yeah.
What does that mean? What exactly do you send to them?
I send them
how does that work?
Here's the email, subject line, hi so-and-so, copy, thanks, Julie. And I give that to them and they load it into MailChimp, pick the picture, send it to me, a test message to me. I'm like, oh, change that. That sounds funny. I messed that up, or here's the spacing's fucked up there. And then it goes out.
But they make it look pretty. They like put the picture in and.
Yeah, well, there's a template, so they don't have to do much to make it look pretty. But yeah, they pick the image, and and that's the one thing I've had a little bit of like thorn in my side about, because I'm like, picking pictures isn't nothing, and so I'm often like, nah, I'll just pick one, and that's time consuming though. So that's a little dance I've been in, where people pick pictures that don't feel quite right. But what I've done is I've categorized my photos really well on my Flickr. I have a Flickr account with like all my images. And I'm just doing a better job of categorizing. These are ones I like. These are ones that are just like one person wandering in nature. These are, and I try to be specific about take one from this category. And taking off pictures of me that I hate from my photo shoot. Like sometimes I'll pick one and my face is all screwed. I'm like, why'd you pick that one? But I'm like, I should just remove that if I don't want it, So anyways, but yeah, I mostly just.
Can I ask about this? Oh shit, I think I froze.
You're back.
You're good.
Yeah, okay. like part of it is like offering a different perspective, but it's also like an inquiry I have, which is like, to me, when I'm hearing you say that, I'm like, why would I pay an assistant to just load it into MailChimp if I'm writing the copy, I'm organizing my photos? Like that seems like a lot of work to then also pay someone to put it into MailChimp. And like, so I guess I'm wondering, am I missing something? Because for me, like I go into MailChimp and it's like, boom, an email goes out, like bing, bang, boom. It's barely more complicated than sending a Google Doc with copy to an admin. So I'm offering both an alternate perspective, especially for those of us who might be in a more budget conscious place, but I also am just curious, like, am I missing something? Is there a real value? Like when I was doing like a launch, I had admin support, but for like regular emails that I already have a template
I mean,
for.
here's the thing. If you're comfortable with MailChimp and you're doing an email once or once a week or every couple weeks, and it's easy for you to pop in there and do it and it takes 5 minutes, go for it. For me, like I could do that. So on the one hand, it's if you're comfortable with the tech and it's easy and you're not, and it's really not taking up more than 5 minutes of your time, fine. If you're uncomfortable with the tech, definitely have someone else do it. So not everybody's just like has that kind of facility with all these things. And then for me, the reason I do it is because it's a stacking of things. Like, sure, it might take me only 10 minutes, but if I'm doing that and I'm doing this other thing and I'm doing this other thing, so like I like have a list of things that might be, so that in whole takes a couple hours off of my plate, right? So if that's really the only thing in my business that I need help with, I probably wouldn't hire a VA just to do that one task, you know.
Mhm.
But I look at my business and I'm like, I want them to do that. I want them to create the landing page for my new thing. And like that, again, it depends on if you have the kind of tech and it's really easy for you to do it and you like it. Like I don't like, I do even, it depends. It really depends on your situation. But for me, it's adding a bunch of things up to take off of my plate.
Okay. Yeah. Cause I mean, I like emails are super easy for me to send out, like a newsletter or something. Like I guess I have a facility with a lot of these platforms and it's
Yeah.
like big, but I got really interested in like you talking about organizing your photos, because I can go down rabbit holes and 3 hours go by where I've been on Pinterest and Instagram and here, there, and everywhere, like looking for imagery, because I don't only use photos of myself. And I can spend hours on that and I don't have it organized. So I was like, I probably could benefit from like saving some time on those kind of things.
Yeah. Well, and that's, you could actually, there's probably a lot of different ways to work with that. I mean, I have a lot of images from retreats that I've run that like are pretty good on brand stuff. And then I'll have, it's not that hard for me to say, hey, VA, can you like look up, find me 50 free stock images of like epic nature, and then me go through and be like, yeah, these 40 are great. I think you just have to give somebody, like you could give that away as a project if you gave a lot of good direction on it. And then you had a good place to organize your photos into like, these fit this kind of vibe. This is art. This is art. This is the art. You put a lot of like beautiful art on your Instagram, right? So you have like just different categories. And then I think I think that is something you could farm out. And then also if it's fun for you, like allow yourself that, but just like do this for an hour,
Yeah, I guess I'm sorry. I feel like I just hijacked Corva's piece, but I often find myself with the curiosity of like, what's the value in me having an assistant? Like what am I paying someone for if I'm having to do so much of the work to get them to be able to support me? Like,
well,
I
because
think that's kind of the root.
once you do get in a good flow with somebody, like then it's nothing. Like once you have the pictures there, like it gets easier, right? You have to do some upfront work to train somebody into your ways and your preferences. And then photos were like one thing that I just had a hard time with because Jess wasn't great at picking them. And I was always like, really this? But that's not going to be, that's not going to be everyone. So, and then that's when I got more specific about the kinds of photos and the kinds of imagery. And that's like a branding thing. Like I like light filled nature photos. I don't like dark ones. It doesn't like match my style. So I just get more clear about that stuff, when I'm telling people what I want. So that's the whole thing with bringing on team is like, people don't do it because it's it's work to set people up. You have to have clear standard operating, you have to know what you want. You have to write it down. You have to be able to tell people, and then they're going to do something that's not right. And then you're gonna be like, oh, such a pain in the butt. And then eventually you get this system going where they are actually taking work off your plate. But there is something to, it's not nothing. You do have to train people. I will tell you that I just started working with Melanie's team in the last couple of months, and I'm not going to work with them anymore, and it's not working well for me. And it's because I haven't had this experience before, where there were too many things that weren't right, and it was taking too much of my time. And I was in this like, is there more? Is it just we need to get to know each other better, and I'm not giving clear enough instruction? And I just decided, no, this just isn't working. So you don't always hire, it's not always the right fit. And like, but I'm like, there's no way I'm not gonna find somebody else to do that stuff like I am. And it just, because I know that what it's like to have really supportive team members that like know you and like can do it the way you envision. So yeah, firing people is not fun, but it has to happen sometimes. So anyways, yeah, it was a good diversion, I think. Yeah, Rebecca.
I have just a couple like kind of follow-up questions that were kind of sparked by what we were talking about. Really, like my business stuff has been, I don't know, I've just felt really overwhelmed with actual like the work of the work lately. And I had some big deadlines last week, and I know I need to just get back onto like focusing on this, which is what I need to do. So I don't have a lot of specific questions about the development of the business at the moment. I know like I have a proposal from BWB sitting in my inbox and all of that, but I was just kind of curious, like why, so I don't have a professional Instagram account, and to be honest, I don't really use it much at all, period. But I basically took my personal one and just kind of renamed it my business name and kept using it, because at some point when I was thinking about switching, it was like, oh, do you want a business account? I did a little Googling about it, and I read something that basically said like once you switch to a professional account, it won't show it to your friend. It doesn't, that it like hides it more or something once it's a professional account, and then they want you to pay to get it promoted. And if it just stays as your personal account, then it's more like an organic kind of shows up naturally kind of thing. I don't know. I don't understand it very well. And then I was also like, ugh, and if I start a professional account, then I'm starting from scratch with followers like 0. So I was just curious about your thoughts on that. Why you just kind of said in passing, like, oh, and of course you have a professional account. If you don't, you should. So
Because you can look at statistics of a business account. I don't think you can
oh,
get the metrics from a personal account. I'm not
okay.
100% sure about that, but I believe that's the main reason to do it. I don't know about like how the algorithm changes.
Mhm.
We'd have to ask like a Instagram expert that question. But yeah, if you want to be checking like what posts are bringing people to your website, I don't think you can do that with a personal account.
I see. Okay. So it's more about the functionality than
Mhm.
anything.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense.
That's my understanding.
Um,
And if you ever wanted to
yeah.
link it to Facebook, and it could post, because you can get something to post from Instagram and automatically post to Facebook, but that's only but there's just more, yeah, there's more
Oh no,
functionality.
that still happened. That happens with the personal ones
Oh, you
too.
can do that with personal. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just curious. I don't know. I never bothered to separate them, and I don't really use it for personal. So it's like,
We don't even know if Instagram is going to be your business thing. I mean, it
oh
might.
yeah.
See Instagram potentially being a thing, but you might not even do that. Like,
Yeah.
so.
I mean, I feel like it's a great platform for the kind of work that I do. And I also feel like, I mean, it's a great platform as kind of a showcase for anything that's visual. But also, I don't know that it's really a source of clients. You know what I mean? I think people like it. Like my friends are like, "Ooh, I love the pictures you post when I post stuff." But it's like, is it really something that's bringing in any business? It hasn't yet to this day. So
Okay, so I can't remember which oh, sorry. With one of these conversations, we talked about, I thought it was with this group, that it depends on what you have capacity for in your business. Like Instagram, you could really focus on having Instagram be a way that you convert, like get people in the door talking to you about work together, or it can be really more of a brand, like a blah, blah, a visibility strategy, right? So like just more eyes on your business. And usually when you're in like business building mode in your small business and you're mostly just you, like you don't have a lot of extra time and money and extra resources to just do like a whole bunch of brand building, visibility building, right? So there's more efficient marketing strategies for you to do initially. And if you want to grow your practice into, and then you can think of Instagram as like a way to just like keep your friends and family and people posted on all the cool shit you're doing, like so they will remember and they will know, and you might get that one referral from it, but you're not expecting it to be like a lead generation machine, right? So you just have to decide, like it's a energy prioritization thing. Like, is it important enough for you to spend time on Instagram, and how much, given that it's probably not going to be a client lead generating machine for you, though it could like help in that kind of long-term way, or the, oh, right, yeah, Rebecca does this, I'm going to tell my friend. That could happen. Versus marketing strategies that involve you going out directly to where your target audience is hanging out and like talking to those people, connecting with those people. However, is it through teaching or networking or getting connected to those people? Like that's going to be a way more direct route to you getting more of your ideal clients. Right. So just keep that in mind. Like I wouldn't want you getting like way distracted on Instagram thinking that's going to like blow up your business.
Right. No, and it might be something that I look at down the road once I have, like, I feel like there are these other much more like getting my website updated. I do think that the newsletter is going to be a good thing. Like once I have my database of contacts in my newsletter, doing that, I think that will be a lot more effective than Instagram because it's like a direct, something that lands in people's mailboxes, maybe, whatever, maybe 10% open it, but yeah, I think that will be.
You can also share that information. You can drip it out on Instagram too, which once you have the content, if you're doing like a quarterly or a monthly newsletter, then great. Like if you have a monthly newsletter, that's probably enough. That's enough content for 1 or 2 Instagram posts a week. Just drip them out. And you could have somebody, if you're writing a once a month newsletter or once every other month, whatever, you could easily have someone like take that and pull it out into 8 Instagram posts, right? And just so you are having that possibility of people seeing a gorgeous design and showing a friend, or sharing it, or whatever. So you can, that's the whole content repurposing thing, right?
Right. So like an Instagram savvy virtual assistant, like if I already have the newsletter, I could like just give it to them and be like generate some Instagram posts.
Yeah, well, so we talked about this in this group because this is it's easier said than done. There are some good writers out there. It depends how you write it. If you write your newsletter in like a chunked out way and it's like mostly visual and it's like, hey, this is the new design we did, here's why I'm excited. Like if you make it easy to like cut the snippets out, like posting it to Instagram, yeah, any VA can do the posting. That's no big deal. But you do someone, if like I've had people try to take my emails and turn them into Instagram posts, and it can be disastrous too. Like sometimes, like that's one where you need to find a person who can do that, or you need to write in such a way that it's pretty easy to like chunk it out, or you just give specific direction, and then they can for sure just like load it up. That part's easy. Yeah.
Or if it's image heavy, if the newsletter is image heavy, it could be like, use each of the images and like a caption from it or something as the.
Yeah. Or you can just go through and write, like it's also when you're writing in the same work session that you're writing the newsletter, take 20 minutes after that and chunk, say like write a little caption for each, that feels like you, are pull it out from there and just do it. Once you're in that mode, that's actually a fairly simple task. Like with what we were talking about with Darshana before, like you might find the person that can totally do it, but if you don't, like that, writing is like, you want it to feel and sound like you don't want like awkward Instagram posts. So I feel like that's one where I'm less prone to handing it out to a VA. definitely not a VA. It would have to be someone that has like some copywriting skills, and then you're going to be paying more. So
Mhm.
that's a, you know, you got to like kind of navigate that. But for you, it might actually be like a 2-hour content writing session once a month. Might
Mhm.
not be that big a deal, right?
Okay.
Write the newsletter,
Mhm.
write the, and you don't need to post on Instagram every week either, like every day, right? It could be
Right.
like
Sure.
1 or 2 posts a week, you know?
Mhm.
So especially if you're just using it as like to have this presence and for people to be able to like be remember who you are and what you do.
Got it.
So,
And then my last little quick question was, you mentioned like free stock images.
mhm.
Um, and that was like a total light bulb for me, because whenever, I mean, I don't know, I go online, I'm never sure like what images you find on the web are okay to use versus
Oh,
not okay to use. And
I have a list of free stock image sites that I'll share in Slack, like
okay.
10 different sites that have good free images. They're
Cool.
not as good. Like you have to go through to find the really good ones. But and occasionally I buy you know, like I forget, is it one of the big ones? You get like 10 pictures for $80 or something like that. And
Mhm.
if, you know,
Deposit photo.
what?
Deposit photo
I mean,
has
there's a
a
million of them. There's some.
yeah. They do it like once a year, $100, 100 photos
Oh,
sale thing.
oh, cool. Yeah, so you can always find like if you want like a few really good ones to use on your website or something, like it's totally worth spending a few bucks to find the right photo.
Will
On
you send us your list of
I will.
the,
I'll post it on.
okay.
I'll post it in Slack. It's some of them are old, so I don't know if they're good anymore, but I'll post
Sure.
them. Pexels is a good one. PEXELS. They have a ton. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then it's worth it for you, obviously, to have like high quality photographs taken of your designs and
Right.
like your things that really feel like your style.
Yes, I I haven't had any professional photos taken of my work. I've just, all the photos are just with my iPhone. And then I've like, I mean, I'm pretty good at photo editing just because I can use Photoshop and do all that. But yeah, I know I need to invest
Well,
in professional.
if you have images and you know, ask like you can ask Casey and Caitlin, like you could send them or put them in Slack and say, like, is this good enough quality for my website? You know, they'll be able to tell you.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Thanks.
Awesome. Upgraded Canva, massive free photo library. Oh, cool. Cool. Yeah, there's a lot of free images out there. Cool. Who else?
I can chime in, I guess. Yeah, with this whole like program thing. That is just like I could like work on it for like a couple of hours and then I don't touch it for like weeks and then I come back and it's like I feel like it's been false labor many times over. But I'm committed and I've started dropping little breadcrumb hints that something big is coming in various different places, including on the podcast interview I did yesterday, which is slated to air March 16th. And my intention is that I want the program out for the equinox. So, like,
Okay.
you know, and that might not be soon enough for your taste, Julie, because that's, you know, like a month away almost.
I'm not gonna push you. I'm just gonna push you. I'm just gonna like. I just don't want you getting in your own way. But
Yeah.
I don't have a date. Like.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is it's like knowing the way that I work and taking into account like, you know, the feedback you and Avery gave me and sitting with it again, like I could probably have a landing page up on my site this week, you know, like that's totally doable. What I don't yet have is all the collateral that I'm going to need to support people on the journey. So I'm a little hesitant of like the timing. I know that I don't necessarily need to have everything created, but I have to at least have enough to start people off if they want to sign on. So I need to be doing like some back end stuff. I only see a little snippet of this.
What Avery said.
Vote first, then organize. Yeah.
And I actually would spend more time on promotion. Like, okay, so yes, you need to have the first, like, what do they need? What's their pre-assignment? What's the first thing maybe? But first of all, I want to encourage you, and I'm going to like out myself here. I want to encourage you to make your stuff simpler than the modules, because I think part of the reason people get stressed out about the modules is they're kind of long. And like, I think about how, you know, I'm like thinking through how I can make those simpler, right? So I want to encourage you to do like the simplest possible kind of
Yeah.
materials for folks, right?
It's not going to be anywhere like what your modules are.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you can do that as you go along, aside from like maybe the first, like the
Right.
stuff that you need to start.
That's what I mean. Like, I feel like I need to at least have just like the initial stuff together.
Sure.
But yeah, like, I don't even know what I want to, like, what the question in all of this is. It's like, yeah, even just what I just said earlier when I was chiming in about the whole, like, why bother to pay an assistant? It's like, I feel like there's this thing in me that's like, I'm going to do the big thing. And then I'm like, no, I'm going to pull back. And I'm just kind of stuck in my material. Like that's what's coming up. And I don't know. I don't even know what my question is. It's like, there's something beautiful that I know I'm creating here. And every time I work on it a little bit more, I get all the more excited about it. And then I go into this mode of like, oh shit, like freeze.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you.
What's the oh shit freeze to say? What's underneath that?
I mean, I guess that there's something vulnerable. Like this is the synthesis of all of my personal experience. And there's a way in which I feel very much like, yeah, this is my synthesis, so it's mine to do. And then there's the way where I'm like, oh, but but I'm not enough of this, and what do I really know about that? And people are going to criticize, and that has come up for me recently because fucking Gwyneth Paltrow did a New York Times. I don't know if any of you saw, there was a recent New York Times article on her that Goop is now selling vibrators, and she did an article talking about sexual wellness, and it was just so like, stay in your fucking lane, Gwyneth. Like, you should not be saying this shit. And I'm like, and I'm about to go on her show. Like, and I just
know
this whole thing came up for me though about like being visible. I can't write a critique on that until I'm already on the show, because then what if they don't put me on the show? Like,
that feels like over here. Like, don't worry about writing a critique of that.
I mean,
like,
it's more, the thread of this is like, I'm about to make myself more visible, whether it's in the launch of my program or choosing to go on the show. And I'm starting to come up against, like, I'm a pretty bold, courageous, fierce one. Those words get used to describe me all the time, right? I'm also like a tender one with gentle parts that don't want to be exposed. And I think I'm like sitting with the reality that like, it's not that everyone's just going to love me the way you all love me. Like, people are going to have criticisms about what I'm putting out there, and that's going to be fucking hard.
Yeah.
But mostly they'll love me. Says Avery.
They'll love you, right?
It's like my freaking cheerleading squad here. Like, you all are the best. Like,
well, yeah, but it's also because you're awesome. And like, if someone reads your stuff and they're like, this isn't awesome, they're probably not going to sign up. Like, the people that are going to sign up are going to totally love you. And then maybe you'll have, like, sure, it's inevitable, you're going to maybe have one person that's not into it. Or, like, I listened to this entrepreneur thing one time that was like, basically just expect that once in a while someone's going to ask for a refund, or something's not going to be a good fit. That is not a sign that you're a failure. That's just like completely predictable, average, like, part of running a business. And so just,
and especially if you're outspoken, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but like, especially if you're really outspoken about your beliefs and you're like, this is the thing, like, of course you're going to ruffle feathers.
Yeah.
Like,
And I mean, I feel like I've heard a lot of entrepreneurs and other, people say that once you start to grow, and if you're saying anything remotely, like you're saying, a strong opinion, or like, once you start to have trolls, that's when you know you're important, right? Like, once you have, like, nobody trolls you if nobody's heard of you, right? And so it's just part of like not looking at it. Don't read the comments. You hear all these celebrities or musicians, whatever, people. Brene Brown talks about this all the time. But yeah, I think to be expected that you're going to get negative, you're going to rub some people wrong, and that's fine. That means that people are hearing you.
Yeah, it means that you're actually being clear. And like, I guess I have like one piece, like channeling Brianna right now is like, just like feeling the fear of like that like body visceral fear of like showing yourself and your gifts and your like masterpiece to the world, right? Like it's tender to share our gifts. Like I just want to fully acknowledge that. And if, just when you have the fear feeling, like just to let it be there and to feel through it, like to feel the feelings, because it's real. It's really, it's true. You said it. It's vulnerable. It's vulnerable to put your sacred. It doesn't, like, if you're selling t-shirts, like it's not vulnerable, but you're not selling t-shirts. Like you're selling like transformational and like depth, and it's like not everybody is going to jive with it. Like that's the other piece, like what everyone's saying is like, I talk a lot about resonance and dissonance, and when you speak your point of view, like you want to actually be polarizing, because if you're kind of meh about it, then nobody hears you. What you'd really like to be like, really, you kind of want to aim for pissing people off, some people, the wrong people, the people that aren't going to work with you anyways. Like that's actually a sign that you have a clear message and you're reaching the people that do want to hear you, right? If you're never hearing anything, it's like, oh, right? If you're hearing like some yes, and some like, what the fuck? Like that's better than, than like not hearing it at not hearing much at all. And so, I think it's just like, feel that it's so normal. It's like so normal, and it is scary and it is vulnerable. And yeah, like your job is to be like clear and focused and speak directly to your people like without all the like the nuancy, vague, vanilla, like I don't want to hurt these people, I don't want to like sound too this or that. Like speak to the people the people who you really want to reach in the way that you want to speak to them. And then I kept getting the song, what's her face, Taylor Swift, because Sierra dances to it. Haters gonna hate, and I'm just gonna shake. It's like haters gonna hate.
And I think the more nuanced piece is what I think the criticism that I'm most afraid of getting is that, like, stay in your fucking lane, white woman. Like, I'm afraid that I'm gonna do something that feels like cultural appropriation, or people are gonna question, like, where does this, like, what business do I have putting out like a four directions map, or like, I'm nervous about things that are more like around the social justice, identity politics realm of things, where there's such sensitivity right now. And while I could say I'm more informed than many, I'm also far less informed than many on that, in that arena. Like I'm trying at every step of the way to keep educating myself. But like one of the criticisms that I read about Gwyneth's article, coming from another white cis woman sex coach, but who I happen to like their work and respect a lot, was just like, it's so like she's talking about intellectualized vibrators instead of sexualized vibrators, and wanting her vibrators to be something different than what, like, you don't want to have to go to a sex shop. And I was just like, seriously, Gwyneth, they're sex toys. Where else do you go to buy them if not a freaking sex shop? And like, it was just, there was such like it was awful. And the way that I was reading this commentary of other people just got me really afraid of like, oh shit, like, what if I mess up like that? Or what if I get quoted out of context? Or, like, I'm going to go film for 2 days and it's going to boil down to probably 20-30 minutes of shots on the screen at best. Like, God only knows what kind of context is going to be taken out of the equation.
I mean, I get it. Like we live in this like cancel culture, like insanity right now, and I get it. Like I get it. And I feel like all the anti-racism work that I've done and that you've done too, it's like part of it is just being willing to state your piece and make the mistake and like clean it up well. Like don't pull a Marie Forleo and like be an asshole. Like be like, oh, I see the impact here. Here's how I'm doing it different. Here's how I'm making it up. Like just be a human about it, and be like a good human, and teach people through your actions. And I think also like that, because I think that's I mean, it's yeah, I mean, that's all I'll say about that. But the other piece is that you could consult with somebody too. Um, actually, I met somebody new who I'm talking to next week who you might be interested in checking out, who might be a good person to run this kind of stuff by, like have someone in your corner who, like, if you're feeling edgy about like, can I say this? Like, is this gonna, what am I missing here as a white person?
Where can I find this Alexis Douglas person?
She's like another diversity coach, but I just think she's might be, I don't know her super well yet. She's a coach in my colleagues program, but I can find her website later if that's not locating her. But so you could get some professional consultation, like, look at this, like, what am I doing here that I'm not seeing, but I do think it's just about being good at repairing when we fuck up.
Yeah. Yep. And I've got experience with that. Thank you. I want to pass the
like
space.
about the, oh, sorry, I'm talking over some. I'm doing this like before we were white anti-racist course right now that's like all through the lens of ancestry. And it could be cool to like trace back and do some research around like wherever your people are from and what earth-based traditions are from there, because like I think the four directions, right, like I've had that question before, but also I think a lot of that stuff, very well may be part of your cultural lineage, even though it was like so erased because so many of our ancestors, especially for those of us who, our ancestors assimilated into whiteness, so much was lost. But there's actually so much cool stuff you might be able to dig around and pull out just to have that confidence of like, yeah, like this is rooted in like the reclamation of my own lineage. And right, and you can also, it can just be an opportunity to talk about cultural appropriation and how, like, your take on it, because people are probably hungry for that too, and it'll help them trust your work to know that you've thought about those things.
Yeah, I want to chime in there. From teaching the intuition stuff, and like people have asked me those questions, and I've learned from experience that I think like it's such a valuable conversation to have, because I think everyone's feeling like a little confused about this moment, and because these practices are important, but it's also like, whose practices, where do these come from? And for me, it's been a huge part of like knowing my own lineage and naming like, intuition is something that my ancestors practice and has been disregarded through patriarchy. And I can, name the lineage, and we talk about like most lineage, most people's histories in our world have intuition, or, I don't use the word shamanism. That's not really what I'm doing, but it's like having these conversations and pulling apart the threads and naming, and then just like asking people like what they know about intuition in the ways that, like in their own history, in their own family history. And then also naming like, yeah, and I'm also influenced by this particular person's work. And then this is where that comes from. And these are my critiques of this person's work. It's not perfect. And this is what I find is valuable, like just like naming all of that stuff. And then people feel more comfortable and they feel more inspired to go learn about their family history, which I found too.
Cool.
Thanks, everyone.
I feel like there's layers. There's like just the feeling it layer, and then there's the like, getting the support that you need so that you can just do that in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, everybody. Shoshana, Marisa, you just popped in.
I've got to head out early today because we got doggy surgery, but kind of didn't really know our doggy was that sick, so we're heading out. But I just wanted to thank everybody been listening, and kind of in the ethers right now. My brain is not really attached to my body, but thank you. I just wanted to be in the group and continue to participate, so I feel like I'm grounded in some place in my life. So yeah, we're you know, I've got my hands united with BWB, and we're working on some logos and stuff. So everything's kind of out there. I haven't like delved deeply into that yet. I told him I need a little bit of a space break because my brain is really full right now. And then, but we did launch summer, so that's good. Yeah. So just trying to keep my head above water. I feel kind of just too much lately, you know, life is big. So, but yeah, just wanted to tap in and say hi to everyone, and been listening this morning and was kind of in and out with classes. So thank you for everything. And I'll schedule an appointment with you to touch base too, Julie, so that I can kind of get back on track. I feel like I'm kind of all over the place right now. So
Okay. Well, congratulations on getting summer launched, and I hope your doggy's okay.
yeah. Thank you so much. It's been good listening to everyone, and I take nuggets every time I listen anyway. So thank you.
Okay. Bye, dear. Okay. Shosh.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm really resonating with Darshana's comments about like I do little bursts and then I like back off and do little bursts and back off. And I don't know if for me it's so much in the like fear of exposure more as it is like I just kind of get overwhelmed with life and 2 kids and, you know, running a business and working at night and all of the things. Um, so I've been circling the like figuring out figuring out the program and, you know, like what is my offering really. And I kind of feel like I don't know, I have it in that like I know the steps that I want to use that I've been using with my birth clients and like where I feel like I want to go deeper, but like I think I'm struggling with the content of what those steps are. Um, which may totally be putting the cart before the horse. And that like I just need to like recenter back on like figuring out my landing page and figuring out how I'm describing the program before I worry so much about like writing the content for the program.
Yeah.
And
Especially
so
because yeah.
I think
Sorry.
that's kind of where I'm at is like I'm getting lost in the weeds of the lawn and I just need to be like, lay the sod down, girl. Like lay the sod down.
Like go in order. Yeah, totally. I think that takes away some of the overwhelm too, just to give you a sense of like, okay, so the thing you need to do right now is you have the skeleton for the program, right? You have the basic structure. Yeah. So what I would say is go on to that step of just writing the page,
Hmm.
the description of it. And kind of same as Darshana, like for both of you, rather than have you focus on the content, I want you to focus for inside the thing, because both of you are also doing one-to-one programs, and so you can wing it. You can create something 10 minutes, an exercise 10 minutes before a session, and that'll end up being the basis for the thing, and you'll take into, oh cool, I just got to spruce this thing up, right? So it's like kind of better that way. Otherwise you'll spend like hours on it. So I say just like leave that, but for both of you, I'd like you to focus on the content that is going to promote the program, right? Because you have the sales page is just sales page doesn't sell the thing on its own, right? Like you need to share about the program to your existing community, right? So that's the content that needs to be written, and that's the content where like, whether it's social media posts, and it shows you can use your personal Facebook page for this, right? Since I don't think you have a big email list, right?
I mean, I have past client email list.
Right. So yeah. Your strategy is probably going to be a little different because it's going to be more about networking and like, right.
Yeah. And like I feel good about that strategy.
Mhm.
Like I feel good about that. I think it's just been that I've just gotten distracted by the like I need to figure out the details of like, what is the program, rather than like, I need to write out the like big picture, bold, like, this is what you're going to do, and this is what you're going to get from it, without having to give like more than a one sentence of that this is what you're going to do.
Yeah, because people
You
don't
know?
care about the details in the marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other pieces that I'm excited to be getting, like branding package and stuff from Casey and Caitlin back sometime this week or next week. So that's kind of, I've been like, ooh, do I wait and like get it all done at once and like put the website together, or do I like start writing the content, and I just I'm
Write the content.
yeah, I think I'm just like, I need to be like
Right. Just
zeroed in.
your next assignment is to take that sales page template from module 8 and just write the content and pop it in Slack. I'll look at it.
Yes, Mom.
I just gave Darshan a bunch of feedback. Happy to give feedback on sales pages. If it's like,
Give me a small task and a like timeline. Okay, got it. Right.
do it by Monday. Get it into
Okay.
the Slack group by Monday, and I will give feedback on it. Just as far as like feedback generally goes, like I actually like Darshan's, the main copy of Darshan's was like just over a page, and that's fine. Like a page and a half, all good. When it gets to be like 20 zillion pages, like I can't edit all of that. And that might be a like sit down with BWB and get some real copy edits kind of thing, or ask another person in the group. But if you follow my template, it's really easy for me to give feedback.
Okay.
So I'll just say that. Yeah. So Avery, did you have something on this to respond to?
Similar. Is there a place in the modules that has a template for writing homepage copy?
Not homepage. That's the one thing. It's not. There's not a homepage copy template, because it's really more about making it's. There's so many different ways to do it, first of all, and but it's really more about core things that need to be on a homepage. So core things that need to be on a homepage is like, people need to very quickly know what you do, like who you work with and what you help them with. They need to know your niche, and they need to know your message, and then they need to know where to go. And it can be like, you've seen, I'm sure, homepages that are super short and like immediately link to other places. And then I think it's nice to have like a small amount of narrative that speaks directly to your target audience. And like, but yeah, it's really just focused around niche, the basics of niche and message. You're not getting into all of your like everything about how you work. Like that's about page is more like point of view, and like maybe you may or may not have your framework. Like, by the way, you in the modules area, you don't need to do any more modules. You're done. I'm absolving you.
I haven't done any of the modules.
You've done them verbal. We've done them. We've figured them out. You don't need to actually write. Like the modules are just like an assist. Like you don't need the assist. Like we've talked it through.
Point of view, or like that Venn diagram, or none of. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I should do that.
Let's talk about it on a private call. But like you don't need to go through all the modules. Okay. And it's not, you're not getting something out of the program. Like we've massaged it. And if you want some more clarity, like let's just like spend our next call like figuring that out. But what I was going to say is that like the Venn diagram, that's the about page, or like how I work, but the home page is simple. It's like who, what, why, and like click here for this, click here for that, click here, the most important thing at the top, a way to get on your email list, really bold, like really obvious, follow me on Instagram, really freaking obvious. It's just like, it's like a map for everything else. So that's why I don't have a template per se, because you can do that in a lot of ways, but that's what needs to go on it. So
I just pulled up the modules, and I was looking for the module 8 template that you were just referring to. Is that the workbook? Is that in the workbook?
It should say bonus, like sales page template.
Oh, sales page, program page template. Okay, got it. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, yours is going to be a little different from that though.
And that program page, like say if I were to do a retreat, which I probably will be some.
That's a good template to use.
Would be the template. Okay. Yeah. And will we have access to those Google Docs after? I guess I just need to make a copy.
You can copy them and just put them in your own drive. So
Okay.
yeah, maybe not the videos, but whatever. I mean, I don't like password protect any of this stuff. Maybe I should. So, but I just want to go back to Shosh for a minute. Do you feel like did you get your question answered? Do you feel complete?
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I had any question. I just feel like I need like small bites of like do this by this time. So
Yeah.
that was helpful.
Yeah.
You know, I work better with like timeline
Mhm.
and you know, like that helps me to kind of like focus my time and be like, okay, I have an hour right now while the little one's napping and the big one's playing Legos, and I can like bam this out.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. As I said many times, if you ever need an assignment, just ask. I'm happy to like help you figure out what the next step is.
I would say I always need assignments.
Well, but I don't know that.
If I turn something into you, give me the next something.
Okay, so when you finish that, say what next, and I will tell you. Okay.
Okay.
For sure. And then just to wrap up, like one thing I just wanted to say, Darshana, like around content writing is like, let's have like a call or a little chat at some point about the content you create to launch the program, right? To your email list, to your Instagram, to your, right? So what kind of writing are you going to do to show people like, here's the experience, here's what you're going to get, here's the shift that's going to happen, like the different kinds of emails and posts you can write to do that. That's where I would focus energy after you're done with the page itself. Does that make sense? Did you hear me, Darshana?
No, because I was typing to Avery. Were you talking to me?
Yeah. It's okay.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
To talk about it, like when you're done with your sales page, the next step is mapping out what kind of content you're going to write to your email list and your Instagram.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's way more important than designing the inside of the program. It's like sales page, and then like all the like yummy, enticing, beautiful things you'll write to show people like the experience that they're going to have working with you in depth.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like tons and tons. Just like go for a few really powerful pieces.
I know. And I actually enjoy that stuff once I get into it. I just need to get into it.
Yeah, but
All
let's
it takes is a couple good pushes, Darshana. You'll have a baby.
Well, and then let's talk about like how to, like structure for those posts, like what you want to put in them,
Yeah.
So
yeah, and this like I don't know, we're at time, and looping back, like this is what I did get admin, like assistant support from last year, like launching my E's and Arrows course. Like my admin helped me set up like the email cycles and was like, okay, you should have a message that goes out about this and goes out about that. So it's like, yeah, definitely need to get on that, like get into that mentality. I recognize that. Yeah.
cool. All right, awesome. Well, thanks everybody. I'll talk to some of you soon, and yeah, enjoy the beginnings of spring.
Bye, y'all.
Okay, bye.